So this one's kind of like a friend of a friend, that I did actually kind of go in a circle with for a while. Um, Let me see. If I can, yeah. Um, are they an asset in the arena? I think this person's like a cave in a cave, like translating old scripts into French. And but their French is kind of like Duolingo French. And they have really long cigarettes in there. Um, but they're sort of also kind of backflipping off of different kind of tiers in the cave. And every time you talk to them, they're too busy to really help you. Um, I really like this person, but they feel kind of more cliche than I think they want to be. But in the same breath, they're like, I'm a classic. Um, we love each other, sort of. We love each other like we're at a whiskey tasting, and that one actually we could kind of taste the difference in. And I think we trust each other more than we'd expect. I think we like would see each other in the arena and be like, ooh, that would be in there. And I kind of knew it. Rate the connection out of 100. We're like a 39. How upset would you be if they stole your man? I think they'd always hate my man and then they'd fuck him on the side. And then they'd lie to my face about it. But we're kind of similar where we think everything and everyone is gay. And then we look at each other and we're like, ooh, but are we just doing that as a defense? You know, like just because it's scripted for Eastern Europeans, kind of. We're both like, when we're together, I think we're like mirroring each other and we're getting harder to crack. Like we're getting more compact. Like I think we scale down around each other and then we try and expand, but we actually like we're like condensing in, and it's potentially more comforting than we'd like to admit. Um, would you ask them to be a bridesmaid? I think I would want this one at my wedding because their input I'd give a fuck about. Maybe more than I'd like to admit. And I think they'd know what to say to calm me. But I'd maybe be scared to have them as a bridesmaid because I don't think we're close enough for that. What surreal scene are we always in together? So we're tied around the handle to a window and bungee jumping down, but instead we are running round the window and forming a loop again and again until the glass breaks in half. And then we're in a Vogue casting room where all of the models are turning into zombies in slow motion. So we have to carry out minor tasks in super slow motion whilst being cast as replacements, all of which is part of an asexual lesbian porno that luckily got shelved. I think that's what we are. And this one, we've hung out a couple of times, but I think we're scared to get close because we might actually already be on the Mobius strip kind of angle of things. We might have already ran each other's eight so many times that it's a little bit like, ooh. Are they an asset in the arena? I think they're really competitive in there, but in a really relaxed way. They're like feet up on the desk about it. And they're not like thirsty for blood. Potentially more like Jazz Maverick. then they allow themselves to be. I think they're potentially like a difficult player that's sort of doing like a child's play version to people who are more similar to them than they expect. So they end up kind of being chucked back in the middle instead of there being a hierarchy. Yet they are really good in there. Do you like, love, and or trust them? I think we really like each other, but we pretend not to, or we don't know what to do with it. And I think we love each other in a way that's actually good for us both. But we don't force the trust. Rate the connection out of 100. Somewhere between a 17 and a 70. Like those two numbers are jumping to mind. How upset would I be if they saw my man? They have a boyfriend. And I think if they stole my man, ooh, it would be like a kind of he's my, what is the boy is mine, kind of a Destiny's Child kind of a moment that we're both not really excited to be in. But no matter what, that's exactly what it would feel like. But we'd be giving too much of like a deadpan version of the singing, but she'd be encouraging me to amp it up in case there's money in it. Would you ask them to? I think I'd invite this person to my wedding and they wouldn't come. And they would never invite me to theirs. But there's something so, as soon as I saw this person, I was like, ooh, that's always supposed to be there. Like, that was always supposed to be there. And what surreal setting are you in? This one's very strange, but they'll know exactly what I'm on about. So we're in a library picking up old kind of archaeological things, like relics of the past, but we are sort of cautious about it because getting the right observations about it would make us both feel like black men for some reason. So we keep running to the worst rave ever, but like a kind of good bad rave, and looking at each other and saying, isn't this somehow worse? And we like each other, but we keep trying to lose each other. But no matter what, we are like each other's only valid point of call in these two specific settings. It's like every time we're in these two specific settings, we'd find each other in there in spirit and somehow find the exit. And yet we're also kind of helping each other brave it because we can't seem to do that. Right. So this one I have a weird digital connection with, where I know she knows I exist and is looking at my stuff, and I'm looking at her stuff and I know she exists, but we've never actually spoken. So it's getting a bit weird. Are they an asset in the arena? I think this person's like being broadcast. They're like on a panel, and they secretly hate it, but they can nail it. And it's kind of is them, but they're not sure they like that about themselves. Do you like, love, and or trust them? I think I kind of like them, I think I don't love them and we don't trust each other. Rate the connection out of 100. I think if we were ever together and kind of got over everything that feels wrong about it, it could be like a 90, but we'd always be like scratching each other's eyes out at a 6. How upset would I be if they saw my man? We sort of tried, I think, to date the same guy, but we wouldn't be able to talk about it. And I think if they stole my man, I'd be upset, but this person's a ginger and they're a really good actress, so I feel like I could see it really clearly. And I think this one's scary because I think she's one of those ones where she won't care. She'll leave you with the guy, but they'll always miss how fun she was, even when she wasn't fun. And how orderly she was, even though she was kind of like this chatty complainer. I think this is a scary one to imagine your man interacting with, because they could very well always want you to be her. Would I ask him? I think this one would be a perfect bridesmaid. I would want this one to be my bridesmaid. I think there's another person in here who I'm always trapped in, like an early 2000s kind of, not quite a rom-com like a chick flick with, but like not quite like a new age Mean Girls feminist, like somewhere between, like if Sex in the City was full of chain smokers and like skins gone cleaned up urban rom-com with, sort of more Fast and Furious than we'd like to admit, kind of a crew. But this one I need at my wedding, and I really trust her with that. And I weirdly think this one we would be maybe each other's best friend ever, and be exactly what the other one needs, but we could never actually figure it out. And I think I would be really disappointing to her. But for some reason, I think she'd bring some, like, I'm actually really similar to her. Like, I could very well always actually be her without the ginger hair to everyone. But I don't broadcast it. And I don't clean it up like that, like in just that right way. And I don't have that. She's like, I might be the Mario and she might be the Wario version. And yet we're so different. I think I like have her energy, but I'm in like an more annoying kind of posher version. But I think I always needed this one. But we'd get really exhausted with each other, maybe. And I think we wouldn't actually want it to be gay. And we'd need it to be something else. But we'd maybe be worried about that. But this one is like maybe what I always actually need. And so it's weird to know that I can't like actually. This one I would want to have like the real conversations with. And I feel like it would be a relief. And I would trust her. But I'd also be scared that she wouldn't be reciprocal? I don't know. So I think we're in a weird sort of modern bohemian climbing wall themed changing room that looks kind of like FKA Twigs's house, trying to dress worse so that she figures out that she isn't actually gay. She's just exhausted of being a sex worker, whilst also I'm like feeding her stuff that keeps making her shit herself. But we find it funny, and we keep saying we are best friends and that I'm sort of right, but he keeps switching again, like to like a weird sort of darker mode where we're both seriously crying, even though neither of us have an easy time really like feeling like crying has ever done the deed. But it's somehow a Tyra Banks talk show with ridiculously good new wave classical music playing in the back on the hot pink cassette player. I think. So the next one I've hung out with a couple of times. And we're actually like maybe friends. Are they an asset in the arena? I think this one's like on a stained glass window in the arena. I think I'm surprised. Like, she might actually be too pretty to be a modern model. Like, she might actually be like a sort of like terrifyingly. She could be like, yeah, she'd be like on a stained glass window in there. And then she'd kind of maybe be in a confessional booth. But she's like a maverick lawyer in the arena where you'd go to her to maybe complain about stuff, but she wouldn't be as good as you'd thought. Like, not good at the job, but as good of a person as you'd thought. Which is a relief to you, but then annoying. Because you'd sort of... You'd kind of want to go to her to be punished in some way, but she'll turn it into maybe a competition of who's worse. But she'd be on like the stained glass windows and like on some kind of pamphlets. Did I write this one down? Oh yeah. Do you like, love, and I trust them? I really, really, really like this person. I love them. And I do kind of trust them. But the issue is I think this one is with me all of the time. I think we're like haunting each other all of the time. And everything I'm doing all of a sudden ends up feeling like if she was here, it would both be better and she'd be done with me. We're like two people trying to prove to each other that we are each other's final girl. But she's always like, I'm through with you, and I'm like eating shit on the ground shouting her name. And we're like just wrong for each other in a way that makes us both break out of our own stereotypes. In a way that feels like Gen Z trying to do Y2K and would maybe make the average person go, But we're both kind of confused as to what to do with it. So I think we're like an 120 and we always do it right. But we're also completely confused as to what to do with it. Or we think we don't know what to do with it. And we're always kind of annoying, but we're not annoying, we're like slightly upsetting each other. And it's not as enjoyable to view for a third party as we'd hoped, but that makes it more real. Would I be upset if they saw my man? This one is so good looking. And I think potentially we have a similar type. So I've visualized her stealing my man multiple times. I've seen her stealing my man at least 5 times. And yeah, I think we would never do that to each other. I think we'd actually be like a voice of reason to each other, but not in a way that we'd expect. Like, I don't think we'd always be saying that's not good for you. I think we'd find like weird alternate ways to say that to each other that, again, shock us and make us go, whoa, she is right. And in the way that she's wrong, she's sort of nudging me towards an answer. Would I want him to be my bridesmaid? I think me and this person we're always in like a shit chick flick together. But I think like a my scene kind of a thing, that's again a little too feminist and cognitive, but not like feminist like fuck the man. Like, it's like we're actually nailing being interesting to each other and to other people without men being anywhere in there. But like we would be in a show together where you could actually scrape a decent audience without the men being in it at all. But we're so scared of that we kind of try to introduce talking about the men just to see what that is for the other one. And then we're really sort of scared of that. And yet we're sort of like, there is some alternate reality in which me and that one are we're being like two kind of protagonists living potentially parallel lives together in a sort of sisterhood of the traveling pants kind of way. But this is the peak performance version of it. Like, if other people are being cast for that role, we're always looking at it like, fuck, like it is a sort of like second-rate version of the other one. But that feels like a big fuck you to everyone else. And so for some reason, we can't hack it. But I would absolutely want them to be a bridesmaid at my wedding. But then in the same breath, I feel like we'd look at each other and we'd be like, no one else could do it, and yet you could. And we'd sort of be annoyed at each other for it. Like, oh, we're not... Well, I think we're not bad feminists together. I think we're women together. And then we actually understand that version of the other one. And it's good for us. And we see each other. And yet we kind of... Some part of us is annoyed that we're not more in the kind of feminist zone with it. And we keep being suspicious that the other one couldn't do that, but we know that they could. What setting are we in together? Okay, I think this one's kind of short and maybe not doing the thing service, but I think we're on an infinite loop, calling each other, not picking up, maybe 1,000,000 times, saying fuck her, she's so fake, and then dragging the other one out of the back of their wedding by the hair to say, what the fuck happened to you? That's all somehow a shoe ad for heels, and I'm the one that's never really worn them, and she's kind of tired of having them on all the time. With really good styling. I'm like God sending tomboy, and she's like the perfect brunette. This one I don't know at all. This is a weird one to chuck in, but I think she does know I exist, and I think I think we do know the other one exists. Do you like, love, and or trust them? I think oh no, sorry, are they an asset in the arena? I think they're like confident in the arena. They think they're running it, but they don't, like, they're struggling to make friends in there. They're like one of the guys, and not in like a useless way. They're like functionally one of the guys. And I've been told before that I'm a Robin from How I Met Your Mother, when I think I'm clearly a Lily. I don't know. But I do understand being called a Robin. But I think this one is like the pinnacle of that, like the pinnacle of a Robin. So I think she's having a hard time in there, and I think we recognize each other, and I think she's like, oh, I'm doing the shit you're doing to the max, and I'm like, low-key, I'm exactly like you, but I've just had to soften the blows, because maybe I'm more afraid of being a Robin than I'd like to admit. And this one is scarily like me when I was 14. If I hadn't kind of chopped and changed myself around and sort of full sent exactly who I was then. So this one feels weirdly Jungian. This one feels like potentially like a weirdly authentic run at everything that I am or was at one point. If I hadn't kind of gone a super insane wiggly route, this one's like a straight shot in the middle for me. I like this one. I think we wouldn't be able to get to love, and I'm not sure we'd actually trust each other, but I feel like we'd mean more to each other than we'd like to admit. Rate the connection out of 100. Well, we don't know each other. In theory, I see us getting to like a 35, but maybe like a 55. But we'd always kind of like bounce off back. Like I think we'd be afraid of each other. Like, actually. How upset would you be if they stole your man? This one's in a relationship, but I suspect that someone I fancied before is someone that she actually still likes. And you couldn't shake me out of that worry. And I can see it clear as day. Like, I'm seeing it clear as day, and I'm not upset about it. So I think if this one, because I don't know her, and it's kind of related to the one before the last, I think if either one of them kind of ended up with this person, I would maybe be okay with it. But I'd feel bad for the guy she's actually with now, and yet I'd sort of think she was really cool for playing it this way. This one is like, there's another one in here who I think she always thinks she's at the poker table, But this one thinks she's at the tennis courts, but she's nailing the poker table every time. Would you ask them to be your bridesmaid? I think I would like this one to be on my bridesmaid crew. I think this one would have my back. And we'd have maybe minor fallouts, but we're almost like 2 different points in the same river at 2 different times of day. I think I'm like a night time, potentially like either closer to the source or right by the end, and she's like midday right in the middle, but we're kind of in the same river. What surreal scene are you always in together? I think we're in like a hyper realistic 4-hour ad to Wii Sports where we're like super well animated but not real people in it, and we're 2 women that are going through every sport in Wii Sports in this version with maybe like Japanese captions that you could switch to Italian, and it's obnoxiously long. We're like over explaining every sport, but it's also kind of a comedy. Like it's like a really long skit, and I'm there in pink kind of doing, look, girls in pink can, and she's in like navy or brown doing, look, not like other girls can. And maybe we're both drinking cans of Moretti, but there's someone in the audience chanting, that's a Bud Light, and I'm going, no, it's a Murphy's. Only to get chucked a Corona in the end. I think that's what that is. Okay, next one. This one dated a guy that I liked at one point, and because like we just have a weird long distance connection because of it, but we've never met. But I know she knows I exist as well. Are they an asset in the arena? I think they could very well be like the female Doctor Strange of the arena. Like they could be like the darkest wizard of the arena if they understood like things that I'd never heard of before in the arena. I wouldn't be surprised, but they'd make it sound like maybe Undertale, like a weird modern video game kind of bro telling of it. Do you like, love, and or trust them? I really like them. I really love them, and weirdly I do to them. Rate their connection out of 100. Because we don't actually know each other in person, maybe like 69. But I feel like we, like, everything about us could be a 90, but we're maybe too similar, but not the same at all. Like, you might confuse us for each other in the arena, only to find that we're actually night and day. How upset would you be if they saw your man? I was rooting for them to get back together with their ex, so I kind of botched the relationship. And I think now we're like in a weird mother-daughter thing where we can't figure out who's raising who, and if it was me, it would be wrong, but when it's her, it's too cliche. Would you ask them to be your bridesmaid? I think they'd hate my wedding and they wouldn't come. What surreal scene are you in together? I think we're at the entrance and the end of like this river Styx. And I keep trying to save the guys traveling on the boat, and she's like excited to eat them. But she's still somehow getting the good guy cut, and I'm looking like the bad guy. And okay, last one, or last three actually. I just remembered I forgot to. As in, I was supposed to cut them in earlier because I realised I hadn't included them. Wait, I'm going to cut the video here. But there are three last ones.